Round 23, NRL Fantasy Buy, Hold, Sell. You are heading into head-to-head finals if you're playing that game. And if you're overall, well, you probably just lost Jack DeBellin. So it's a tricky time for you. Look, before we start this episode, we're going to be doing a few things differently today. So the first thing is I want to ask you, submit your best player name pun or headline for the last week in the comments there, and we'll be voting on which one's the best there. For today's episode, we're going to be going through 10 big headlines of the week. And we're going to be discussing these on whether they're true or not. Biz, welcome, mate. How'd you go last week?
Yeah, look, it was looking pretty rosy, but I decided to skip Cleary and get Cherry Evans on his 300th game against the Dragons. It didn't go too well for me, but Cleary's in my team this week. But, you know, middling around. Love a good charge home to the finish over the next few weeks.
Mate, I'm backing you. And look, you're an Isaiah Yo owner. First headline here is Yo's kicking your Haas. Now, look, there was a big choice. Isaiah Yo, Payne Haas. You're celebrating right now.
I'm not celebrating because you know what? I didn't end up getting Yo.
Oh, I thought you had him.
I had him, and then I reversed him out, and I decided to go Cherry Evans on the fact that I didn't have that many trades left, and Yo was likely to be rested towards the back end of the season, so I didn't have really the depth to cover that, especially with Hopgood and Madison in my team. So I went the Cherry Evans route, but god damn, I wish I had Yao. He's so good. Like he's scoring tries now. Like he was averaging 65 just tackling and running. And now he's scored like a try in each like 3 of his last 5 games or something like that. So he's looking great. I wouldn't worry too much about Payne Haas. Like he's still getting, close to 60 minutes. Broncos still look great. Haas is the type of guy who's going to get you 55, 60 and then boom out with like an 80-plus score, and his average is going to stick into 65s. But ideally, you have both. But, if you had to choose one for the run home, it's tricky.
A lot of people were choosing between them. Yeah. Payne Haas, he's gone 54, 55. In the last 2 weeks, Isaiah Yo, 70-plus each game. So, Yo's kicking his ass. All right,
that's right.
The first one. Next one here we got is hindsight's 2020, and hindsight says Nathan Cleary is the GOAT. Let us know in the comments if you like these because I enjoyed writing them. Look, Hines had a shocking couple of weeks, and he got out of jail a couple of weeks ago with a 60 where he probably didn't deserve it. He got a mid-30s score last week. Nathan Cleary posted 100+, so he lost 70 points last week having Hines over Cleary. People were calling it as a possibility that Cleary would definitely take over Hines. And I was saying last week, you got to captain him, but I didn't think it would be such a big gap. Did you see this coming?
Look, I did see it coming just because Sharks are on the slide and Panthers are on the rise. And Panthers' defense, I wasn't expecting a shutout, but a couple of factors going against Hines was that Trindle is a bit more dominant than Moylan playing next to him. Sharks not looking as good. They're losing some key members of their team. Kennedy going down. Hines, Kennedy, Moylan used to have a great combination. That's down to just Hines now. Hines, Trindle, Tracy, a completely new combination. But look, for the run home, I'm still backing Hines, I think, over Cleary. I know that's a controversial choice, but we saw it at the start of the year that choosing between the two of these, having both of them in your team is a must. But choosing between them as a captain option just becomes another stress in your life you don't need. Because any given week, it could be the other way around. So you might captain Cleary next week and he gives you 45 and Hines goes 90+. So it's a tricky choice. I think if I was chasing points, which I am, I'd be captaining Hines. If I was playing safer, I'd go Cleary because I think most will revert back to Cleary after last week's performance.
Yeah. I mean, Hines has Souths, right? So they're a good side, but they're not necessarily a defensive juggernaut.
No.
It potentially could go well there. I think you're right, though. For him, he probably needs that original spine configuration back. And a guy like Matt Moylan, like we look at the 6s next to the best 7s in fantasy. Jerome Luai is next to Cleary. Jerome never kicks. He's just that running half. Matt Moylan is exactly the same as that. Dylan Brown next to Moses. All these guys have those sorts of halves. Even like Josh Schuster next to DCE.
Exactly.
They need that. And Trindle is a 7. So
Metcalf next to Sean Johnson. It's all the same.
Yeah. Exactly right. Or even Tamari Martin. They got about 8 of those guys. the Warriors. Next guy here, he's not one of those guys. Jarome Hughes, he was on the buys segment. I had him at the top of the pods list, and I said, look, there's a stretch of form that he could hit down the stretch where if you're short in cash, he could be that guy. And look what he did. He posted 100 plus.
He started with 100. Not the team we wanted him to post 100 against, that's for sure.
Oh,
but
it's kind of low, though.
Yeah. Look. And Pappenhausen's apparently training again. He's playing for Queensland Cup this week. Like, once he comes back, Melbourne, all of a sudden, they've got Sofa Salamona coming back this week. Look, Jerome, that's sneaky buy. I know we've got another guy coming up who's also in that kind of price range who could get on a real hot run of form. But if you've got him on your team, and not many people do, you'd be laughing this week.
Yeah, he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. Would have been risky, though. So Jerome, triple digits, because I want you to start rating these out of 10 as well, these headlines as we go through. So what do you give this one?
It's definitely going downhill. I think the further we go, I'm thinking let's go back to buy hold sell. No, I'm liking it. I'm liking the format. Jerome triple digits. I'm not sure about this one. This one's a 4.
All right, you'll like the next one though. Can't go Wong with Sewer.
This is an 8.5. 8.5.
8.5. Yeah, look, 240 odd K. The guy has gotten a starting spot. The Chooks edges are a nice place to play. Look at the way Nat Butcher's been scoring. Egan Butcher isn't a massive fantasy scorer, but he's scoring a lot of tries when he's in there. Look, with Sewer, the job security is next to zero, but I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think the Roosters will start thinking, all right, we got to plan for next year. This could be the guy we're plugging into that starting spot, or at least playing as our backup edge back rower. Do you think there's a world where Sewer Wong is a productive fantasy scorer down the stretch, Biz?
Yeah, well, first thing I'll start with, Sewer Wong is a massive talent. And the second thing I'll say is he averages about 57 in the reserves. So real fantasy pedigree here. He's not just one of those lazy second rowers that just makes 15 tackles and just relies on attack. Like, this guy has a high work rate. We've seen he can make a difference playing 30-plus minutes for the Roosters side. At this point of the year, I'm willing to punt on him as a cash out so I can get clear in my team or whatnot. But I'm not expecting him to really stay in the team because he is replacing Egan Butcher for the next couple of weeks, I believe. But that's actually half the season left. So even if he plays and he gets 2 big scores, I think if he plays well, you can keep him as like a 19th, 20th man for the rest of the season. And I think if he gets dropped, then keep an eye out for him next season. But, I don't mind it. Like, at 240K, if he keeps his spot, he could be, and he plays big minutes, he could be that 50 average guy just sitting at the end of your bench. You can plug in for, when Haas goes on bye, when Yo gets rested, when the Eels boys have a bye, the Souths have a bye, etc.
He's got Manly this week too. So they're not a defensive juggernaut by any means. Could be a bit of a shootout. 2 teams that probably aren't going to make the finals. Could be a game where he scores a try. In fact, I'm going to make the call right now. I'm going to back him to score a try.
Is he running at Kelma, Tuangi, or Olakuatu?
I believe Nat Butcher sits on the right. So I think he'll be on the left.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think he'll be running at Olakuatu then.
I think so. Look, either way, I don't think it's the worst.
It's not. He can be a lazy defender. I would have loved the matchup against Tuolunga. I've seen some real lazy defense from him this year. So
there are a few times last week where he didn't go into contact.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen some guys run around him, but I think it's a good option this week. And like, I caveat this with, if he doesn't play another game after the next couple of weeks, like, so be it. It's 240K.
Cash out with upside. We love it. All right, next one. Valence, the center of attention. Center. He's a center?
Yeah, that's a 8 out of 10.
Really? Wow, that's generous. But look, you look at that center pairing.
I like it.
Right, look at that center pairing right now. It's him and it's Cody Nikorima. Now, he was being dropped earlier in the season because of defensive concerns, all that sort of thing. Look, if you're running him and Cody Nikorima, that's obviously not a priority anymore. I think he's locked in. I think he's going to be keeping that spot for the rest of the year. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I've kept Valence for now, and he's actually looking like a pretty good 18th man for the run home for me. So I think he keeps that spot. I think Dolphins have a pretty easy draw to end the year. And if you look at Valence when he plays 80 minutes at center. He averages like 40. So he's almost a keeper in the centers. Like if you didn't have a center, you could keep him. But if I really needed cash, and with Jack DeBellin going down and having to trade him, I don't really need to cash anymore. But if I needed cash, I could have easily cashed. Like I could have even thought of maybe cashing down Connolly to a 300k backup and then just playing Valence as my keeper. But I think I'll just run Valence as my depth option. But at his price, you're not getting him in. But if you have him in your team, which I think about 16-17% of people already do, just keep him for the rest of the year. He could be a real difference maker towards the back when your frontline center goes down.
Yeah, he's a fixture option, right? Like, and he's got genuine attacking upside. The Dolphins have had struggles, but he's not a guy who struggles to get himself open and converting opportunities, and they're feeding good ball out to the backs. So, no, I agree with you. I think he could outscore some of the guys that we talk about as center keepers.
Yeah,
down the stretch. It's just a
he's
question of which ones.
Like you said, loophole option too.
Yeah.
He has the big play upside where we've seen he can score a double and score 60 plus.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the next one here. New cast Knights, no L's.
No, this is less than 5 out of 10.
Oh, really? I thought that one was really smart.
It was smart, but if there was more L's, but there's only out of like 20 letters, you only removed one. So if it was like you remove 5 L's, then maybe. But
yeah.
I agree with the concept, man. Newcastle, where have they come from, right? Like they're all of a sudden, right? This is a great run of form, and I've got Ponga and Marzu in my backs, which is great for me. Gagai as well, Dom Young. You could arguably have like 4 or 5 of the Newcastle back line, and you'd be going great guns. Like you could easily have Ponga, Marzu, Gagai. They're all keepers.
Yep.
You could probably have Dom Young and maybe Best
like
is
they're loophole sort of guys that you could keep in that spot.
Hey, do you remember that episode we had like 5-6 weeks ago where all the buys were Newcastle Knights?
Man, we called it.
It's paying off.
Yeah, we actually had that whole page. Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, it was. We replaced buys with just Knights, and look, they were
the ones.
We were 5 to 10 weeks ahead of the game. But yeah, we had all these guys. Anyway, great call that.
Man, I wish I'd bought more of them though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we guide others to a treasure we can't possess ourselves.
Yeah. Well, hindsight is 2020, right?
Is that the name of the show now?
Yeah, maybe. Nah.
Yeah, no, but legit though, like Gagai, he's killing it. Marzu's got such a solid base. Ponga's scores. He's got one game below 55 points in the last couple of months of footy. He's scoring 70 plus most weeks. It's absolutely crazy, and his fixtures are good.
Crazy. I mean, if you bought him like most of us did when he bottomed out before that, when he got dropped from Origin at like 430k or something, like this guy is like averaging. I don't know. I have to check footystatistics.com, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's averaging close to 60 or above playing fullback this year. I swear he's churning out 60s, 70s every week, other than the game against the Panthers, as you mentioned. And Panthers, man, just quickly on that, like they're just soul crushing for fantasy players. Ponga scored a try and he got 15 points. Hines 30. Like I would be benching players if I could against the Panthers, especially attacking players, if you had options that could cover them. But
that's a lot of those Storm boys. My caveats that would be, I think Cam Munster is relatively matchup proof.
Yeah,
because if it's a hard game, he does more work. Yeah, and when he does more work, he gets more results. So, other than Cam Munster, totally agree with you. But yeah, Newcastle. Look, when we're talking about the Panthers matchup, that's where you need to have that extra guy. So for me personally, I've got Carraz sitting in that spot. He's on a bye this week, but you've got Carraz, you've got Valence Tavare, you've got one of these other guys that we're talking about. They can come in for a Ponga who's versing Penrith, and it's a gamble, but I think it's a gamble worth taking a lot of the time. Let's go to the next headline here. So we got drink beer, not water. Look, Drinkwater's reign of terror. He's so expensive right now. His reign of terror is coming to an end. He's made his coaches about 300k in profit, which is fantastic for them. But he's got Brisbane this week, and he's got a bye next week. Also coming off a weaker score in a game where he was relatively shut down by the Titans. Is this the time to go Drinkwater, Latrell? and not really think about it much more than that?
Nah, I mean, I personally would be keeping Drinkwater because he's not that highly owned, even though how expensive he is. And I think at this point of the year, you just want to get the guys who are just like. I assume you've now got the funds for the team you need because most people would have Cleary already except me. Jack DeBellin's gone, so there's money in the bank sitting there. So like I would just keep a guy like Drinkwater because he's just churning out big score after big score. And the Titans game was obviously not the best, but I would see if he writes. I mean, yeah, look, if he screws up against the Broncos this week and then the bye, it's not great, but I'd be willing to keep him. I think Drinkwater will score fine against the Broncos. Like the Broncos are not Penrith level defense. They're good, but I still think Cowboys and Broncos, they generally bring the best out of each other. So I can expect a pretty good game from Drinkwater still. Latrell hasn't missed a beat, but Latrell also was versing the Tigers, who weren't as bad as usual, but he does have the propensity to have a slow game here and there. So, and he's got the bye soon as well. So Latrell's not the guy I'd be trading him to because I think they're similar kind of characteristics in terms of fantasy output. But I see an argument to sell him. Like that's why I sold Joey Manu last week. Like he had peaked. He wasn't worth his price anymore. I needed cash. But if you don't need cash, I'd keep. If you need cash, you could look to downgrade him.
Okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and go something really different. I think Latrell out averages Drinkwater by more than 10 points down the stretch. I just think we're going to see like the way he played against Tigers. He had that big score without many attacking stats. Like we're going to see peak Latrell down this stretch. The fixtures are fantastic. Souths are going to switch it on. I'm pretty confident of that. He's just going to fly. And I think Drinkwater, I think we often see guys like Drinkwater have these runs of form. And I feel like the run of form is over. That's just a feeling I've got. It's not based on much. It's a prediction I'm going to make here. So if I had Drinkwater, I'd be looking at the trade to someone like Latrell or one of these other guys. And I view him the way you viewed Joey Manu last week, in that he's overpriced right now. Look, he was a buy at, $500K a while back, and there's a reason he was that price, and he will be that price again in future years. So we'll see how it goes. But look, I'm going to say drink beer, not water. Now, we've got a bunch of other guys here, and look, I don't think they were worth having their own pages. So couple of headlines.
You just ran out of headlines, didn't you?
No, I've got them. So I've got mids are mid, and I've got these two, Jack DeBellin and Corey Horsburgh. I'll move us to the other side here so that everyone can see them. Jack DeBellin, he copped a 4-week suspension. Is there any debate there? He's a sell, right?
Yeah, he's not. Is he even playing again this year? Like, probably not.
I think he's got one game.
One. I mean, they'll probably just rest him at that point. They're out of contention. Easy trade. See, I don't even question that. Either cash him down to like a good mid ranger that's performing like a Jerome or McInnes or whatever, or take him up to the top tier, like Haas, Cleary, Moses, as he kind of bottoms out, whatever.
And what should I do in my draft league where the finals are the next 4 weeks?
Mate, I'm asking you. I haven't played draft. You're the draft expert.
I'm going to cry. That's all they're going to do. He's got no value anymore. So yeah. I've got Brandon Smith and Blake Laurie as my middles now.
Well, if you've got him in your draft, I'd just start focusing on your NFL draft.
Mate, it's going to be good. And then Corey Horsburgh. Look, less minutes last week. He was flying out of the line, like playing like a psycho, playing like an impact forward in that game, actually. Do you have any reason for concern for him? Is it a case where we just don't have enough trades to be worrying about it? Like, what do you think of Horsburgh?
No, I think he's been going to gangbusters over the last 5-6 weeks. Like, he's the last person I'm worried about. Yeah, he had a bad game, real life and fantasy, but he'll be fine. Canberra just had a bad game overall. I think he'll be back to a 50+ score next week.
Yep. All right. I think I'll stick with him.
I'm going to say I've got too many of these guns who are just not performing. I like Damien Cook, Isaiah Papali'i, Horsburgh, Ryan Madison. All these supposed to be guns are just underperforming. If I traded all of them out, fantasy, right? It's tough.
And that's the thing too. You regret it, right? Because then they bounce back.
Yeah.
They have a quiet game. Ponga scores 17 against Penrith.
Yeah.
You don't trade him out. You stick with him. He keeps going. So I totally agree with you. Next guy here we got is, instead of Connolly Lemuelu, it's Wobbly Lemuelu because of the head knock.
Should we be
Genuinely,
laughing at that? Should we be laughing at player concussions and safety?
it's a pun, all right? It's a really bad pun. But for Connolly, they're challenging that HIA Category 1. And I remember watching that originally and just thinking, all right, he's fallen onto his back. And you know how when they have that Category 1 concussion, they normally bang their head back onto the ground?
There's not much.
He caught him. He caught himself.
Yeah.
Like, his neck was activated. He was clearly flexed and somewhat conscious. So I actually reckon they could get away with this one. That was my first thought, that he might not even get ruled out, but it happened quick. He was ruled out fast. But I think he might be able to play this week.
Yeah. I mean, I brought him in for Manu last week. After Manu put up like 10 points, I was thinking, doing the dance, I thought I was a genius. And then I woke up, Sunday morning or Monday morning and New York time, actually Sunday morning. And I looked at the score and I was like, what the hell happened? I thought I was a genius. And then I found out he had been knocked out after like 10 minutes. And then I saw the replay. I'm like, come on, sure. Just get back on the field, mate. But
it looked innocuous, yeah.
Yeah, look, he's back this week. I've got this situation where I've got him or like Tuare to play. So honestly, like if he gets ruled out and it's Tuare playing, I'm probably not losing that much. But I do like Connolly for the safety. He seems to be when he's playing 80 minutes in the second row, he seems to be pretty good for at least 40 points. So it'd be ideal to have him back, but I'm not too worried if he's there. But definitely hold him if you have him.
Yeah, I agree. He's too cheap to be worth trading out anyway. And then we got two guys who could be buys, and I want us to talk about which one's better. So, two headlines for you. I've got Cam McKeeper and Ryan Mattisale, because he's nice and cheap right now. Look, McInnes is $700K, Madison's $650. Very similar prices. I'm going to lay out some things here, right? Because I think they're very similar propositions for buying. Cam McInnes, he made, 84 tackles or something the other day.
81, I think.
He's going to play big minutes with no Dale Finucane. That's not guaranteed every week because he played without Finucane earlier in the year and the minutes weren't that great. But he's still probably a fringe keeper level guy, even if the minutes aren't fantastic. 700K, no buys left. Cronulla are going to make a lot of tackles, so he's pretty interesting. We switched to Madison. Look, 650K. The interesting thing here is he's been named to start on the edge, which, as a Para fan, I've kind of been waiting for them to make that move. So I'm happy to see that. Sean Lane's out for a bit longer, so I'd say for the foreseeable future, we're going to keep Maddo in that spot. But Parramatta have the buy in round 27. So the cheaper price is mitigated by that buy. Look, pluses and minuses to both guys. I own Madison already. I don't have McInnes. But if you had neither of these guys, which one would you be buying if you had to buy one of the two?
Well, I'm also a Madison owner for like the last 5 weeks. So I think a bit biased from the co-hosts here. But I think my proposition is if you've got a good 18th man or a 19th man and you can cover Madison in round 27, I would personally go Madison. Because I think if he's starting in this edge role, he's probably like I think he started a couple of second row games this year, and I'm actually going to quickly look this up towards the right start of the season, and he was actually pretty good. I think he scored close to 60 both times. I'm just whipping up the stats now. He's scored 62 last week because what actually happens with Madison is when he's playing in the rotation with Davey, I'm just looking up these scores. So he played second row 3 games this year, and he averages 61. And he played 83 minutes, 75 minutes, 61 minutes. And the thing about Madison is that he's got a high PPM. And in some of these games, I've seen that with Davey on the bench particularly and Cartwright playing 80, what's going to happen is when Davey comes on, Madison's going to shift to the middle, right? So he's going to get this heavy minutes at the second row and then maybe 20 minutes in the middle as well. So I do like that, especially the dual position, player availability there. I think that's going to be pretty critical as people running out of trades towards the back end. I think McInnes' minutes were very inflated last week with Kennedy going down early and Tracy at fullback. I think Niokora was playing.
Niokora
center. So and who's an 80-minute player in the forwards. So it'll be interesting to watch. I think McInnes is a guy, even if he gets 55 minutes, he's scoring 50 to 55 points. So both great options. McInnes is now more expensive. I would personally go Madison, but I would look to round 27. If you've got, Hopgood as well, and you've got 2 players out, and you don't have the depth to cover them, then just
Or
go
Moses.
And Moses, yeah. And like Penasini and
Yeah.
Simonson, all these guys were fantasy relevant.
Or for Hangawi.
Anyway, hey, we should talk about Offa. He's starting prop now.
He's going to be a cash out soon. So I think we'll talk about him next week. But look, I think the one thing I'd mention there too is round 27, there's going to be a lot of guys rested that week.
Yeah.
So if you've got Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, all these guys too, there's a good chance they miss out. I personally, I think McInnes is the safe choice. I think if you have 3 edges already in place, then you probably go McInnes. If you only have 2 edges, then Madison might be the guy that covers that spot for you as well. I just sort of feel like Madison will score more every week, but McInnes will score more across the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So Madison's more exciting to me.
Yeah. I like having Madison because he doesn't just tackle. He can score a try. He offloads a lot. He can break some tackles. When he plays in the middle, his PPM is at 1.1. So if he gets middle rotation, that's really strong. Like he scored 6. He pretty much played that game last week. Like he played 60 minutes 40 minutes in the middle and then 20 on the edge, and he had that 60+ score, which I think he's odds on to average more than 55 to end the year. But round 27 is going to be tricky. If you've got multiple Eels and Panthers, like Panthers always rest their key players that week. So if you've got Cleary, Dylan Edwards, Storm do it as well, Harry Grant, Munster, these guys, like you could be fielding a team of like 12 in the last week. So I'd be careful of that.
Yeah. It's 1 week of sadness, then you forget about it though.
I reckon by round 27 you've probably given up already. So
you're fielding a team. There you have it, guys. It's the Matter sale. It's time to buy up big. That's buy, hold, sell for this week. Let us know in the comments if you like this format. We can do more of this kind of stuff. We can stick to the original. We can mix it up. We're looking at stuff for next year here and just sort of trying stuff out right now. So really appreciate your feedback, and thanks for jumping on, Biz.
Good seeing you, Longy.